Good afternoon and welcome to the 4 to 5. I'm Eric Chilton, joined by Maddie Gardner and Tahisha Moyes and Christian Morgan.
Yes, we are here to inform you, make you feel connected, and let you into our world.
Yes, and stay connected with us by using our hashtag 4 to 5 if you post on social media. And keep in mind, we do stream this show live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. All right, let's get into some breaking news of the day here in Guilford County.
Yes, Guilford County Schools just announced they are moving to online learning only for 1 week in order to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Remote learning will go from November 30th to December 4th, right after Thanksgiving. You're taking a live look outside of Irving Park Elementary School. The district is also setting up grab-and-go meals for the week so kids can still get food. That can be picked up between 11 a.m. and noon at several mobile sites in the county. We have a list of those sites right now on WFNYnews2.com.
Pfizer says the new test results for its vaccine is now 95% effective. It also helps protect older people most at risk of dying. Pfizer says a few more tests needs to be done, but the company will look to formally ask the FDA for emergency use of the vaccine within a few days. The vaccine also has very little side effects. The most common problem was fatigue in about 4% of patients after the second shot.
From vaccines to a second wave, even 8 months into this pandemic in the Triad, there are still so many questions. I took a few of them to Wake Forest Baptist Health's infectious disease expert, Dr. Christopher Ohl, today.
Are we in a second wave? Are we still in the first wave? Are we in a 17th wave? Where are we at in this thing?
You know, if you look at the overall curves of the pandemic since it started in March, and you look at first wave come up and then come back down, and then another one in July, a little one. Now we have this bigger one now. Yeah, I would say we're in a second wave.
Your initial thoughts on just the vaccine efficacy numbers that we're seeing?
Yeah. So my initial thought was, wow, that's really good. Because if you look at other vaccines that we have, measles and mumps and rubella, or MMR, is about 95%, 96% protective, and basically eliminated measles, mumps, and rubella from our hemisphere. So I really like those efficacy numbers. What still has to come in is we need a little bit more safety data because that's still being analyzed. But the early safety data for the vaccines look real good too. Pfizer's vaccine's got a little bit of fever with it and a little bit of soreness in the arm, but I think most of us would be more than happy to take a half a day of fever and a little bit of Tylenol in order to get vaccinated.
Next year, if you can get your crystal ball out, which we've been doing for a couple months now, next year at this time, we're about to celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday. What do you think that looks like? We might have a vaccine widely distributed. Are we wearing masks?
We're going to start vaccinating here right around Christmas. Healthcare workers, long-term care people, and long-term care staff first. And then we'll move into people who have other medical problems and the elderly who are at home. And then after that, everybody gets it. That'll be probably sometime in the early summer. So by the time we get into fall, yes, we will still be wearing masks. We will still be wearing personal distancing, but it's going to be a lot better.
All right, so 2 things I really took away from my time with Dr. Ohl today. First, what you just heard, he thinks we're still going to be wearing masks at this time next year. And part of that is because the more protections we add, we have the vaccine, we have the social distancing, we have the masks, the safer we will all be. The second is how excited he was to hear about the efficacy numbers for both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. And he echoed the words of Dr. Anthony Fauci and said, this is like the cavalry is coming, these vaccines.
Right, because you think about for mumps and rubella, it took more than at least 4 years to get those vaccines done. Now we're doing that in less than a year. So it's incredible the work that these scientists have been doing.
And I've read in some online, I was trying to check out about immunology and that type of thing. And there's something called immunological memory where the body actually starts to, can respond correctly to the virus. And that's what, when you said, Tahisha, that it took years for the mumps vaccine to work, that's kind of what they're waiting to see, whether this adaptive memory can happen with our bodies. And, you keep your fingers crossed and just watch the tests, basically.
Right. And this is still early data. And Dr. Ohl stressed that. He also also stressed that we're still a couple of months away from everyone being vaccinated. So we still have a lot of work to do and a lot of precautions we can take before that vaccine comes to keep people safe.
Yeah, but encouraging nonetheless, for sure. All right, well, we do have some bad news to share when it comes to coronavirus numbers here in North Carolina. Today was the state's highest percent positive for new cases since July. Today it's at 9.2%. And keep in mind, the state wants our positivity rate to be around 5%. New cases topped 3,000 for the 5th time since last Tuesday. And there are more than 1,500 people in the hospital with the virus and nearly 4,900 deaths since the start of the pandemic.
So the United States reported more than 1,700 COVID-19 deaths yesterday. That is the highest it's been since back in the middle of May. Now, all over the country, the virus, as we've heard, the numbers are going up here. It continues to spread. Yesterday, that record 73,000 people were hospitalized, and healthcare systems around the country are at risk of being overwhelmed at this point. It comes as Dr. Fauci says a federal guidance response is needed soon, especially with the hope of a vaccine on the way.
And Harris Teeter tells us they are temporarily putting restrictions on certain items in stores, including paper towels, toilet paper, most canned food items, household cleaners, and even paper towels. They will all be limited to 2 items per customer.
Let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup right now. The FDA has approved the emergency use of an at-home rapid COVID test kit. This test will require a prescription, however. The FDA granted emergency authorization use to the 30-minute test from Lucira Health. The test allows users to swab themselves to collect a nasal sample. That sample is then swirled into a vial that plugs into a portable device that interprets results. The display will say whether a person has tested positive or negative for the virus. Health experts say Canada's Thanksgiving holiday should be a lesson for folks here in America. Canada saw an increase of positive coronavirus tests 2 weeks after its holiday, the typical incubation period for COVID-19. And experts say this trend may be foreboding for the U.S. The increase in cases happened despite the fact that the testing rates in Canada did not increase. The CDC says the safest way to celebrate the holidays is by only seeing people you already live with. Preliminary research shows that in a lab setting, over-the-counter mouthwash can help kill the coronavirus in saliva. Cardiff University scientists released the early findings ahead of a clinical trial on COVID-19 patients in the UK. That's according to the BBC. While mouthwash could help kill the virus in a person's saliva, the report states there is no evidence that it can treat the virus once it gets into the respiratory system. Rather, it might add another layer of protection to the regimen experts have been suggesting to the public, which is those 3 W's. The FAA cleared Boeing's 737 MAX planes to fly again. The move comes after the jetliner was grounded for nearly 2 years due to a pair of crashes that killed 346 people. Before the 737 MAX can take off again, airlines will have to install a software update that addresses the design flaw. Pilots also have to do new training, which wasn't required when the aircraft was introduced.
All right, weather-wise across the Triad, it is a nice sunny fall day, but it feels a little more like winter, doesn't it? Take a look at that beautiful sunshine and Carolina blue sky on our weather camera network. But the temperatures are the big deal today. We've actually made it over the 50-degree mark. 51 in Greensboro right now, 50 in Asheboro, 51 in High Point, and in Winston-Salem as well. But we are heading for what could be our coldest night of the season so far. I think most of us will dip down into the upper 20s tonight under clear skies. The winds really won't be whipping like they were last night. That will actually help us to cool down a little bit more. And then even some mid-20s back to the western counties and in the foothill and mountain communities as well. Tomorrow, your Thursday, we're going to get a little bit warmer than we were today after that cold start in the 20s. Bundle up in the morning. You'll still need a light jacket or some long sleeves in the afternoon. The sunshine, well, it's hanging around for the afternoon, but temperatures are back into the mid-50s again. We have high pressure in control of our weather and staying in control of our weather for the next several days. There is some warmth out in the Midwest. That won't reach us until we get into the weekend. That's just getting our temperatures back to a little closer to normal, back into the 60s. Also, wanted to mention this. We have a clear night. You'll just have to bundle up, but you might be able to see some meteors. The Leonid meteor shower, it peaks tonight. If you're lucky, about 10 to 12 meteors per hour, you can see that. Just look to the darkest part in your sky and, of course, stay away from any light pollution if you can. But the dry weather's sticking around for several more days. Getting back to the 60s over the weekend, we start adding in small chances for rain, though, as we get into next week.
So here's a question for you. How many of you met your spouse while on the job? It's always been a thing, and since this week was American Education Week, I reached out to the Guilford County School System. They say there are at least 3, maybe 4 sets of husband-wife teams that are still in the educational system that met, fell in love, and got married, and they're still at the same jobs here, at least within the same system. So I had a conversation with Chris and Kevin Wheat, both principals and married with GCS, to find out their story. Guys, thanks for chatting with us today. So, obviously everybody's talking about there are multiple couples in GCS that met on the job and got married and are still in the education system. So let's talk a little bit about that, and because, workplace romances can be difficult sometimes. How did it go for you guys? I'm going to let her go first, Kevin. You know how this works.
Well, we actually met not as employees of Guilford County, but as students of Guilford County. We were students at Allen J. Middle and Southern Guilford High School, and then both went on to UNCG and majored in education. And our first job, we were both teaching middle school at Jamestown Middle School, both in the 8th grade.
Yeah, it was neat coming through high school. Chris and I had an opportunity to date coming through high school and then through our college years. And I was a couple years ahead of her. So when I graduated, I was hired at Jamestown Middle School as an 8th grade teacher. And then a couple years later, Chris had an opportunity to get a math position there. So we actually taught on the same hallway for a couple of years before we moved on to other schools and other positions.
Yeah, it's funny because I think there are two sides of the fence to this, because I met my wife in the workplace as well, but a lot of people will say, I can't work that closely with my wife or husband, and others say, oh no, I love it. And so where are you guys with that? And Kevin, I'll let you go first this time.
Yeah, there was one year when the principal at Jamestown asked if we would like to be on a team together, meaning, keep the same students, day in, day out, plan collaboratively. And we thought that might be just a hair too close. So we didn't ever serve on the same team. However, having an opportunity to work within the same community and serve the same population, that was always a blessing.
remember my last year at Jamestown, I was pregnant with our first son. And so we would sometimes even pass notes back and forth because our classrooms were very close. And the students really enjoyed seeing that and knowing Mr. and Mrs. Wheat were married, and they got to see a very positive, loving marriage and relationship. And so we took that very seriously, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, it seems like you guys have the work-life balance, in good order there. So good luck, and thank you for telling your story with us today. So there was a recent survey I saw that said that about 30% of people say they have dated coworkers at one point in their career. So I asked everybody on Facebook what they thought about dating people that you work with, office romance type thing. And boy, you sounded off. Here we go. Cynthia said, I met my husband at work. It was love at first sight. Just celebrated 25 years. Worked out good for us. We did work in different departments, though, she said. Cassandra said, from my own experience, not a good idea. Personally, I wouldn't do it again, but to each his own. Brenda says, I think it's not a good idea because if you see each other all the time, you would feel like you never had any free time to yourself. Candy says, working at Harris Teeter, that's where I met my husband 34 years ago. Scott Ward says, I'm married to my coworker, so. Candace says, not a good idea. It becomes very awkward if you break up, and very bad if it was a bad breakup. And Bob says, love will do what love will do. P.S. Don't tell my ex-wife. Okay, Bob, we'll just leave that alone and just say that it has happened. That is where I met my wife, and we are happy as we can be. So sometimes it works out. For other people, maybe not.
Yes, Chilton, I'm going to consider you the expert on this because I don't have any experience with Tahisha. Your turn. No.
Wait,
so
all I have to say. Like,
so
I would never. I don't want to date anyone in news because then we just talk about news all day.
Oh gosh.
No, I need a break.
It's true.
That's fair. I think Brenda had a good point. If you're around your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend all day, you don't get any time away from them, which maybe some people would like.
Where does that space come from? I like Scott's comment in there. He wasn't going to say anything. He was just going to say, I'm married to my coworker. Just leave it at that.
He's not
he wasn't going to make a comment either way.
It was good or bad.
Playing it safe.
But Eric, do you still think if you were still working with your wife now, it would be fun? I mean, I guess you kind of are because you're both at home.
Yeah, I mean, but the way I look at it is this. We worked in different departments, so I think working together in the same department would be difficult. But we were in totally different departments, so she was in sales, so we didn't really see each other very much.
But I think Tahisha likes the idea of dating a coworker. Is that what I heard?
Yep, you sure did. In
How
more
many
words
no's
or less.
was that? No.
No.
We'll be right back.
Well, starting to feel a little more like the holidays. Hello there, welcome back to U45. Christian Morgan along with you. And well, it feels chilly here, but it's not quite as chilly as it is on Beach Mountain, where they've been making snow since yesterday afternoon when I showed you that picture. Of course, it is chilly for us here in the Piedmont. We have 50s, low 50s all across the board. There is some warmer air down to our south and out to the Midwest, but all of our colder air is really coming from right up to the north. It's coming from Canada. That's where we get that really chilly fall air from. And in fact, I think we're headed for our coolest night of the season so far. Temperatures in the upper 20s under clear skies for us here in the Triad. And then pretty much the same story for our western counties and foothills as well. Without that wind to deal with, that'll actually help us cool down a little bit more tonight than we even did last night. So a cold start in the 20s for your Thursday. Lots of sunshine though when we get back to the 50s in the afternoon. I'll show you that 7-day forecast. We're going to warm it up a little bit heading into the weekend. I'll have that coming up.
Pennsylvania is strengthening its statewide mask mandate. People now have to wear masks inside their homes if they will be with people that they do not live with. This is just one of many new COVID-19 mitigation orders issued Tuesday by the state's health secretary. The state is also requiring anyone traveling to the state to get a COVID test within 72 hours of arriving or to quarantine for 2 weeks. The state is also directing hospitals to prepare for another surge and move up elective procedures. So I wanted to get your thoughts on Pennsylvania's new mask mandate as it relates to masks inside your home. Here's what you had to say. Rosemary Cox May says, "Don't see how this would be enforceable, but if it makes anyone think twice about the importance of wearing one, that's a good thing. No gathering is worth someone's life or a lifetime of health problems that COVID can cause." Heather Matthews says, "I wish they would try to tell me what to do in my own home." Getting a little sassy there, Heather. June says, "And so it begins." Sharon Antonis says, "I don't like the government telling me what I can do in my own home. I understand the concept, but what will they do if people don't wear a mask? Will they arrest them, saying they endangered the public?" Mary Watterson says, "This is nuts." And Rhonda Darlene Cook says, "I agree." She says she agrees to the concept of wearing a mask inside your house. Now, I understand where people are coming from, you know, the government in your house saying you need to wear your mask. But it's something that government officials have been saying for a while, especially here in North Carolina, wearing a mask around people that you don't live with.
Right. And I think if you just read the headline, which says Pennsylvania says you have to wear a mask inside of your house, of course people are going to be turned off to this idea. But like someone says, it's when you're around other people who don't live in your household, there isn't a way to enforce it. It's just common decency. If you're going to be around someone to wear a mask, of course people can do what they want in their own households, but this is not a new idea.
Not enforceable, and I think really they're just making a statement more than anything else. I don't think people need to get all up in arms about this because, again, how are they going to do that? They can't enforce this. So I think it's more of a statement, just this is how important it is that we're saying this.
And right before the Thanksgiving holiday, too, I don't think that's a coincidence because obviously you're going to have family members, maybe friends coming over
That's right.
For dinner. So I think that the timing on this was very much intentional.
Yeah, and it's going to take some effort to do so too, right? Because usually when you go inside a house, you take it off, but they're saying, no, don't do that.
Yeah, continue to share your thoughts. Use our hashtag 4 to 5. We'll be right back. Welcome back to your 4 to 5. Actor Michael B. Jordan was just named 2020's Sexiest Man Alive by People magazine. Jordan is known for his roles in Creed and Black Panther, and the award was revealed this month on ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live. Jordan tells the magazine in an interview that was out on Friday that the honor is a cool feeling. He is the 35th celebrity to receive the award since the annual campaign started in 1985. Jordan said the women in his family are, quote, definitely proud of this one, which I laughed at. You know, they do pick the award based on looks, but also a number of factors. He is very much into charity, and in the interview with People magazine, he says he just really wants to leave a legacy behind.
A legacy. What a great legacy to leave behind. One of the rare few who have that title. No, I'm all for it. Michael B. Jordan, I mean, I already thought that a few years ago.
Be careful.
But here we are.
Beyonce might be watching.
I wish I'd had a microphone in the morning meeting when we talked about this. Anyway, all I'm going to say is, should I tell my story, Maddie?
Yes.
Should I tell my story about
Tell
this
the story.
that I worked with? Okay. All right. So when I worked in Tampa, there was an anchor, a friend of mine, who misread the script for the Sexiest Man Alive, and she said the Sexist Man Alive,
Yeah.
and had to correct
Not
herself
the
and
same.
got all flustered, and it was hilarious.
Well,
not the same thing.
And after hearing you tell that story this morning in our meeting, I was really concentrated on this script. I feel like I actually stumbled through it a little bit. It wasn't because I was flustered. I was just trying not to say sexist instead of sexiest.
Yeah.
So
Not the
forgive me.
title or the legacy that Michael B. Jordan would want to leave behind. Right.
Absolutely
No.
not. 4 to 5, we'll be right back.
Hey, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie, they forever go together.
Wait a minute, that's not my microphone. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Mic check, mic check. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Hello. Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Hi, mic check people. Checking the audio signal. Checking. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the 4 to 5. I'm Eric Chilton alongside Maddie Gardner, Tahisha Moyes, and Christian Morgan.
Yes, we are here to inform you, make you feel connected, and let you into our world.
Yes, use our hashtag 4 to 5 to stay connected.
It's right there in the middle of the screen in case you forget it. Let's get right into the news, and we are beginning in Greensboro this afternoon. A Greensboro private school is now dealing with a coronavirus cluster. Greensboro Day School says 17 students tested positive for the virus. There are 17 total cases. That includes 16 students and one off-campus coach. The positive cases are in the upper school, but there is one positive case in the middle school. They are all currently in isolation. Now, as a result, Greensboro Day's high school students went remote last Thursday and will continue until the end of the month. The head of the school, Tracy Catlett, says the positive cases reflect what students are doing outside of the classroom.
And after the contact tracing was completed, it was revealed that the transmission took place off campus or after school, after the regular school day hours.
And the school's basketball team will also go fully remote until the end of the semester. Middle and elementary school students will continue with in-person learning.
And speaking of sports, the Wake Forest Demon Deacs won't be playing football like they planned to this weekend. Coronavirus is forcing Wake Forest to call off the game. WFMY News 2's Amanda Ferguson dives deeper into the impact on the team.
The 2020 football season where you come to expect the unexpected.
Coach Clausen's right. You got to stay on your toes in the middle of a football season during a pandemic. Wake Forest football schedule looks a lot different now than it did back in August. The Deacs have moved around 4 of their games already. Notre Dame, Campbell, Louisville, Miami, and now they'll have to figure out when they can play Duke. Wake Forest postponing its game this weekend against the Blue Devils after coronavirus cases, contact tracing, and injuries within the team. So essentially, this week turns into another bye week for the Deacs. They've been in this position before when Notre Dame couldn't play. Coach Clausen says there's some positives to a surprise week off.
It gives you a chance to examine what you've done, what you're doing well, why you're doing it well, what you're struggling with, why you're struggling. To me, it's always a matter of, is it what we're doing or who we're doing it with? And once you come up with those answers, then you can start figuring out what you got to do differently or who to do it with.
Wake Forest is working with the ACC and Duke to reschedule this matchup.
Well, here we go again, having to cancel sports because of coronavirus. And I hate, the closer we get to Thanksgiving, I feel like we're going to hear a little bit more about this as cases continue to rise across the country.
It makes me wonder if, you're going to have an asterisk by your team's name if you win any conference, if you win any division, if you're at the national championship. And I hate that because, the college football scene with some conferences not even playing until just a week or two ago, it's just a big mess.
Yes, I don't really think you can pay attention to any of those sports rankings or ratings at this point because some teams are playing more than others. Now we're hearing about teams even adding games to their schedule so they can get a winning record in order to have a better season. I think 2020 is just like play when you can, don't play when you can, and ignore all the stats because at this point, what are you going to do?
It's kind of like a wash. No one really wins here.
It is. It really is. All right, well, let's talk about some good news here, and we're talking about the vaccine, the possibility here. Pfizer says that their new test results for their coronavirus vaccine is now 95% effective. Pretty good here. It also helps protect older people who they say are more at risk of dying from the virus. Pfizer says a few more tests need to be done, but the company will look to formally ask the FDA for emergency use within a few days. The vaccine also has very little side effects. They say the most common problem was fatigue, and that was only in 4% of the patients after the second shot.
All right, let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup. Dolly Parton is making headlines today, but it is not for her music. The singer donated $1 million to the company Moderna with research for their COVID-19 vaccine. Now, she actually gave the money to them early on in the pandemic. If you know now, the vaccine is the second coronavirus vaccine with a stunningly high success rate, much like Pfizer's. Moderna vaccinations could be available as soon as late December. Los Angeles County officials over in California are tightening restrictions ahead of Thanksgiving. Starting Friday, non-essential businesses that operate indoors will be limited to 25% capacity. Outdoor restaurants, wineries, and breweries will operate at 50% capacities. And then restaurants, breweries, bars, and non-essential retailers will have to close from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And listen to this. A max of 15 people from 3 different households will be permitted to gather, but it has to be outside. On Tuesday, President Trump fired the Homeland Security Director responsible for protecting the vote from cyber attacks. Christopher Krebs told CBS News by phone he expected to be fired and has no regrets. Last week, he issued a statement saying, quote, "There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised." In a surprising move, the canvassing board in Wayne County, which includes the city of Detroit, certified their presidential election results last night over in Michigan. Now, at one point, the board was deadlocked on the decision 2-2. However, the reversal comes with a demand that the Secretary of State's office conduct an audit of unexplained absentee results. The Trump campaign, if you remember, tried to stop the certification process in that county. The Board of State Canvassers still has to certify Michigan's election results. That process starts November 23rd.
President-elect Joe Biden held a virtual roundtable with healthcare workers today. The president-elect's coronavirus advisory board says the Trump administration's refusal to begin the transition process is hurting their preparation. President Donald Trump's own coronavirus task force now shows 47 states are in what they're calling the red zone for new coronavirus cases. The task force calls the spread of the virus both aggressive and unrelenting.
You can't start that, early enough. We've already lost nearly 250,000 lives to this pandemic. We owe it to the public to work together as closely as possible, as efficiently as possible.
Well, this comes at the same time that President Donald Trump continues to fight the election results and claim widespread voter fraud.
Back here in the Triad, High Point police have released new info on that shooting at Living Baptist Church earlier this month. Police said a Davidson County Sheriff's deputy in plain clothes fired the shot that killed 18-year-old Frederick Cox. Police tell us as the crowd was leaving a funeral service, people began to shoot, causing panic outside the church. Police believe the shooters were from a rival gang. Police say the deputy was at the funeral as part of a murder investigation.
Well, otherwise across the Triad, a chilly day, a little more like a December day than a mid-November day. But you see that beautiful Carolina blue sky and the sun actually already starting to go down. Sunset just about 5:10 this evening. Temperature-wise, we're in the low 50s across the board. There are some warmer temperatures in the 60s to our south, but all of our air right now is coming from the north, where all of that cold air is still yet to go. High pressure in control of our weather, staying in control of our weather for the next several days, and we don't really have to worry about the wind concern tonight like we did last night. So I do think tonight we'll clock in at number 5 for the longest wait to get below freezing. We still haven't done it yet. We got to 32 this morning, but tonight I think we'll drop down into the upper 20s, most of us. So bundle up, make sure you bring the pets inside. Most of us will see the upper 20s, mid 20s back to the western counties and the foothills as well. For your Thursday, it's an all sunny day of weather. Get back into the mid 50s tomorrow after that cold start. And again, it'll be a really nice fall feeling afternoon of weather. That dry weather hanging around for several more days. We get back to the 60s by the time we get to Friday and into the weekend. And slowly we start to add low end chances for rain back in as we head into your Thanksgiving week.
And this has not been a normal year for children, for anybody, but particularly for the children. School changed drastically in the spring. Their summer wasn't the norm. When it was time to go back to school, that took a different route. There's just been nothing normal for them. And we really want to do everything we can to make sure that Christmas morning is normal for these children, and that there is something under the tree for them, and that at least for those few moments on Christmas morning, maybe they'll forget that it's COVID.
It is hard to imagine no COVID, especially when you're thinking Santa, as you see here, is even in charge and changing the way that things are done. So if Santa's making changes.
Absolutely, it just makes sense if he's doing it, that the Salvation Army and other agencies who help out around Christmas are changing the way they do donations too.
Right, the Stuff the Stocking campaign, which we all know very well here at WFMY News 2, it is changing. The solution this year, a drive-through toy drive this Saturday through Thanksgiving holiday. You can drop off an unwrapped toy at a Chick-fil-A drive-through donation location in either Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem, or Mount Airy. From there, the Salvation Army will pick up those unwrapped toys and then deliver them to families in need. So how do you know what kinds of gifts to get? What if you don't want to go to a store to get those toys? Well, we have answers to those questions and more coming up tonight at 5 o'clock. In the meantime, you know how this goes, right? Look at this. We're going to show you some video. Maybe, maybe not. What it is the firefighters, you know, you've seen it 1,000,001 times. They're suited up for the turkey fryer. Yeah, it bursts into flames all the time. Not just on this video, but actually in person. It's interesting to watch, right? But never fun to have at your house. So tonight on Two Wants to Know, a Greensboro fire educator is here to answer your questions. Just how many lights can you plug in for the Christmas tree? Maybe we're gonna settle some family arguments today. You can text your questions 336-379-5775.
So you say you're not living out your lifelong dream, huh? Well, there's a mom in Eden who is living proof that it is never too late. Sarah McGregor may have the recipe to move into her dream job of owning her own bakery, and it comes down to a national competition. Take a look. Well, Sarah, you and I were talking before we started recording the interview, and you were saying you get to live out your dream now. So let's go back a little bit and talk about how this all got started, because you were young when you decided what you really wanted to do.
Yes, actually, I was 8 years old and I decided that one day I was going to open my own bakery. I really just always had that dream. I've loved to bake all my life, and I'm finally at a place in my life that I can do that.
So then you've been thinking about this all these years, and then life happens and kids and all that. But then recently this competition came up and you got involved in that, and that's sort of sparking things. Tell us about the competition.
I found it on Facebook actually, and somebody had tagged me in the post of it and said I should join the competition. So I did. I didn't really even think that I would make it past round one, and now I'm holding first place in the group winners competition round of 3. And there's 6 rounds total.
So what is the grand prize here? And when will we find out?
Right now, we're, like I said, in round 3. Round 3 goes from now until November 19th. And then we have the quarterfinals from November 20th through the 26th. The semifinals are from the 27th through December 3rd, and the finals are December 4th through December 10th, and that's when we'll find out who wins. If I was actually to make it to the end, the grand prize is $10,000 towards opening my own bakery, year's supply of stuffed puffs, and also there's a 2-page spread in a national magazine, the Baked from Scratch magazine.
My gosh, you'll be like Emeril Lagasse here. You'll have your own little catchphrase, like bam, pretty soon. Hey, listen, we wish you the best of luck, and we'll let everybody know how to vote for you. But I hope you win this thing. Let us know if you win. All right, so all you have to do is look for this story on WFNYnews2.com. We'll link you to the site. I've already voted for her. It's pretty cool, and again, if she wins this prize, it'll help to fund her bakery, which she's doing it out of the house right now, but the long-term goal is to get out and have a brick and mortar store, so it's pretty cool.
This is awesome for her. When she said she's wanted to own her own bakery since she was 8 years old, I was thinking, what did I want to do when I was 8 years old? And now I remember I wanted to be president.
Hey, there is still time, Maddie.
Oh, I think I've really changed my mind at this point.
There's not enough money in this world to be the president, I tell you what.
Yeah, too much stress. I feel stress in my everyday life.
Serious.
And I'm not, in charge of the free world. So no thanks for me on the presidency, but baking. Back to the subject, right? She is doing a cool thing. I really hope she wins. Now I want to try her cake. I saw the one that was a birthday cake with the Friends theme. Love it. I wish her all the best.
As someone who formerly was a baker and cake decorator, that is not easy, and she is very talented. We'll be back.
True.
Christmas holidays have always been a time of joy and renewed spirit. And this year, more than ever, people are ready for a little holiday cheer, including myself. I already have my Christmas tree up and I have my Christmas sweater on my lap. Yes. So Elise Preston has an early taste of the season for you.
Old St. Nick is once again headed our way, and for millions of pandemic-weary Americans, he can arrive soon enough.
Makes you just forget the world for just a teeny bit.
With people cooped up at home, holiday decorating has started sooner than usual.
This year, basically after Halloween, I was ready to go.
Bringing out the holiday cheer and decorating for Christmas just it's a mood boost.
Trees are going up even before Thanksgiving, and stores that sell Christmas items are packed.
Sometimes double, sometimes triple. Our business is crazy. People want to be happy. We sell happy.
It's not just the inside of homes. Here in Brooklyn, New York, homeowners spare no expense when it comes to outdoor decorations.
Usually we start around Halloween, but this year, because of Corona, we wanted to start earlier because we saw our neighborhood very depressed and dreary, and we wanted to bring joy to everyone.
And when it comes to decorating cars, Tyler Pepper is tough to beat. Santa and his sleigh are strapped to the roof of his ride. The lights run on solar power.
Kids are just like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then parents, they'll grab their phone, they'll put it right over the windowsill and take a little video.
A little early holiday cheer during a time when many people can use a lift.
All right, so I told you that I had my Christmas sweaters. I want to show you all. It's got the bears at the bottom. Yes, I found this in a thrift shop for an ugly Christmas sweater contest, and I don't think it's ugly, and I wear it year round.
She does.
Yes.
But
we need Christmas.
I dug through the archives back behind me, and I found my old stocking from when I was a kid. Like, that's actually what I used when I was a kid. It's a wonder it's still here.
It's retro, vintage. I love it.
Tanisha
does wear that sweater in our morning Zoom meetings as well. I can confirm that. Christmas tree is up. Christmas decorations are up. Was listening to Christmas music in September. Sometimes I just break it out when I need a mood booster. All right, because Christmas makes me happy. And we've talked about this, and I don't want the shade. Just let me do my thing.
It is.
Do your thing, girl.
I think that Christmas music is the key to breaking the mood and get rid of 2020 in your head. That is the key. And
like,
this.
I'm working on my computer. My Christmas tree is next to me, and I'm saying, how can I be having a bad day at work when there are twinkle lights just over my shoulder? You can't.
Now you got to go for the Christmas coffee. There's Christmas blend. There's the peppermint mocha coffee that you can get. You should drink some of that too. With a smile on your face.
We're playing you Christmas music to the break.
Hi, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida.
Hi there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. LA, not as in Lower Archdale. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right.
Special school, yeah.
High Point police say they have released more information in the
Greensboro police say there's not one reason why 2020 is so violent, but they...
Hello, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, mic check. Hello, mic check, mic check. It's time for my 2 cents. 'Tis the season for treating yourself. At least that's what I tell myself. It is November, my birth month, so usually around this time, if I see something I like, I buy it. It's a from Tahatia to Tahatia gift because I believe in celebrating myself more than just one day. But when you combine my purchases from this month so far and over the last few months, I think I'm heading down this slippery self-care slope. On the surface, self-care is great. One mental health expert describes it as any activity we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, physical, and emotional health. But there has to be balance. I believe the trick is making sure self-care is really caring for yourself rather than just an excuse to do whatever you want. So don't be like me and buy 4 sweaters when one will really do, but do take time to inventory the things you are doing for yourself in the name of self-care. I would also say 2 things. 1, make sure the ends justify the means. Don't do something that will hurt you down the line. And 2, do something that works for you. For example, if you do something you hate because a lot of other people do it for self-care, it's not helping you at all. Form your own opinion. That's just my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts right now. We begin with breaking news. All Guilford County students will go back to remote learning for 1 week following the Thanksgiving holiday.
School leaders say it's in an effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Again, this is happening after Thanksgiving. GCS is modifying its grab-and-go meal plan to make sure that no student goes hungry while school buildings are closed. Only